I can get you to go to the next PowerPoint. Okay, so we're dealing with health relationships, making your relationships more fulfilling. How many people would love to have a healthy relationship with everybody? Some people don't have a healthy relationship with the pastors. Some people don't have a healthy relationship with the deacons. Some deacons don't have a healthy relationship with the pastor. And sometimes people don't have a healthy relationship with their staff. And so there are different challenges that cause that and creates those things to happen. But turn to the next, so we're talking about making your relationships more fulfilling. Let's turn to the next slide. Usually I have a PowerPoint clicker, so it's kind of a little different. Next slide. How do you define a relationship? We just talked about. People on Facebook define their relationship as complicated. Anybody see on Facebook, what I'm in a relationship, it's complicated. What does that mean when you say it's complicated? It means they have problems, or some people say it's complicated because they're not sure what type of relationship they have. I remember when my wife and I were dating, I wanted her always to know where she stood. Sometimes people say, where y'all dating? What? I don't know. They don't even know. It's complicated. They don't know. And so sometimes people don't know what kind of relationship they are with their friends, their family. And so it's good to know what type of relationship. Okay, what does that mean? Next slide. All right, next one. How two or more people, concepts, objects, or people are connected, or the state of being connected. The state of being connected by blood or marriage, how two or more people or groups regard and behave toward each other. The landlord-tenant, that's a relationship. You and your banker have a relationship. And so these are all types of relationship. She was proud of her good relationship. Okay. Next slide. Okay, only now question. What are some of the types of relationships that you are familiar with? I'll let one person tell me what's some of the type of relationship that you're familiar with, just one. Husband, wife, very good. Choir, you can be a choir member. That's a relationship. Next slide. Other types of relationships, siblings, healthy relationships we may encounter. These are healthy relationships. Siblings, romantic, interpersonal, best friends, mutual respect, sexual, platonic. But you take that one out, I'm sorry. Material, business, friendly, loving, affection. Those are healthy relationships. That sexual, platonic, we want to throw that one out of there. I don't know how that one got in there. Okay, next slide. I have to blame on the audio visual person. No, I can't blame them for it. Okay, family relationships, acquaintances, romantic relationship, parent-child, work relationship, situational relationship. Next slide. Now we deal with unhealthy relationship we may encounter. Abusive, over-the-top, perfectionist, codependent, push you down all the time, competitive, negative thinking partners, friends, extremely insecure, controlling, narcissistic, adversarial, hookups, jealous, and self. I don't have enough time to go through all these, but I'm just going to cover a few of them. There are people in the church that are dealing with abusive relationships. And so I deal as a therapist. I've had clients come in who husband was a pastor and say, I've been abused mentally, physically, and verbally abused. And so that's why I think it's important in the churches to have relationships, because some people were taught that it's okay. I had a client that told me, he said, I beat my wife up. He said, my daddy beat my mom up, and his daddy beat, so he thought that was a norm. And so we can't just assume that everybody knows what should be done, what shouldn't be done. Everybody doesn't know. Even people coming to church, we bring baggage with us to the church. They say the church is not for perfect people, because if it was perfect, we wouldn't, really wouldn't need it. We're people who are perfecting, working on ourselves. And so competitive, and sometimes we have to be careful. Even with our best friends, sometimes people can be very competitive with their friends. Sometimes preachers can be competitive, And so we have to work on that we don't have that competitive, especially husband and wife should never be competing, because you're on the same team. If you ever watch a basketball player or athlete and one person hogging the ball and not passing the ball, that becomes a problem. I've seen games where a player might hit 50-something points or 60 points by himself, but the team loses. So how effective is that if you're getting accolades by yourself? But it's a team effort. So any healthy relationship is a team effort. When your church, a healthy relationship with your church is when your church is blessed, you're blessed. Amen. So you should want your church to do well, your pastor to do well. Let me see. Because controlling narcissistic, we had a brother was visiting our church, and he taught Bible class for us, and he was teaching Bible class or preaching, and he said, brother, you mind if I use your wife for example? He said, yes. He sure did. We all was shocked. Controlling. Didn't want him to just use her as an example. Don't you know that people like that, they're insecure and controlling? And that's a problem. And so no one should accept that type of behavior. Some people have learned to come to accept negative behaviors, and that should never be accepted. Okay, the next slide. How do you communicate? Communication, if I ask someone one of the most important things in a healthy relationship, what would you say? Communication is one of the most important things. How do you communicate? It says, how do you communicate to others is just as important as what we communicate. We should especially be especially careful how we talk to people. For instance, I say, how are you doing today? I'm doing all right. I'm giving you the right answer, but what type of attitude? You know, sometimes husband, wife, somebody say, good morning. Good morning. How you doing? Right, you ever seen anybody like that? So, I mean, how endearing is that? You know, I think we have to be mindful of what we say and how we say it. How I talk to you is just as important. There's some people that are condescending, they talk down to you. They'll talk down to you. What you say and how you say is so important. You can say it in a loving way. You can say the right thing and have a bad spirit. And it's not, a person doesn't feel the affection, they don't feel the emotion because it's the way that you say it. Have you ever talked to somebody who's abrasive in the way they talk? Come on over here. What you doing? And it's so negative. And we have to be careful, especially in relationships. You know, wives have to say, good morning, dear. Yes, dear. Yes, sweetheart. Don't that sound good? Sound good? What do you want? Again? Didn't I just do that? How many, there's only two brothers. How many brothers would like to have your wife answer you like that? Honey, I say, dear, could you fix me breakfast today? Didn't I just fix your breakfast last month? Even if you say, I don't want to say, but baby, I don't feel like it today, but maybe I can fix it tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? You know, you may not feel, it's how you say it. Sometimes, and we have to be careful how we talk. Now, you don't have to raise your hand, but I'm going to ask you, has anybody ever told you, you're speaking kind of rough? Sometimes you have to think of how you say, yes, sister. Very good. Okay. Sister, you want to come up a little bit closer? We had a conversation on yesterday. She's repented since yesterday. Ain't God good? Won't God do it?
I could only talk the way,
Thank you, brother.
in the way in which that I talk. This is the way that I talk all the time. I don't have that high-pitched voice. Now, if I had that high-pitched voice, I don't think that he would hear a tone. If I was talking like this all the time, oh, baby, I'm sorry, So, I mean, this is the voice God gave me. Until he changes it, this is what I was dealt with. So,
Right.
so just pray my strength in the Lord, because I'm working on it.
sometimes we don't realize how we sound to other people. And so even when you were saying the first voice, before you were saying high pitch, it was a common voice. But sometimes we get excited, our voice, and there's a spirit that comes along with the voice. Yeah, I don't care how nice you are. I saw a sister, she was nice, she could be, but she bawled her husband out with a soft tone, but she let him have it. And so we have to be careful. Our tone is so important. The tone in which we speak to others can encourage or discourage. I have talked with couples who share with me how harshly the other person talks to them. So, for instance, if a person does something wrong, we all make mistakes. Anybody here who has never made a mistake? A person can make a mistake, and you can say, and there's choices how you respond. When your mate or friend or family, even your children or someone in the church makes a mistake, say, a kind, considerate person say, you know what, that's all right, you made a mistake, but let's work on this the next time. See what I'm saying? You don't have to beat the person up. What's wrong with you? You did that again. Not again. And don't you know how that makes a person feel? Well, and now I hate to use the word make a person feel, because you can't make a person feel a certain way, but that affects their spirit. The way you talk to a person how many of y'all remember how many of you came up in a loving home with a loving mom or dad? With a loving mother or father. It was something about, no matter how bad you were hurting or how sick you were, when those parents spoke to you and said it's going to be all right, it just made you feel so special, didn't it? And we need to carry that same attitude when we're talking to people. Sister Walt.
Get back to the tone, though. I remember just yesterday when we was coming through the airport, and it was a young lady behind us, and she had a very squeaky voice. And even you said, did you hear how she talked? And that sister reminded me of that, how she said, like her, real nice voice. Did you hear that? And then on the other hand, husband and wives and different things and tones and different things with you and I, you have gotten on me about when I pass you something. If I give you your, look, he's spoiled, y'all. If I give you your breakfast in bed, if I just hand it to you or hand you or comb or whatever. Or whatever I'm handing to him, I'm like, I want to see that you grasp it. And he's like, you're not working for a doctor no more or something. Because I'm used to handing, if you work for our surgeon, you put the instrument in the hand and you make sure they have it. I want to make sure you grasp it. But yeah, he let me know.
So you see that right there? So she did better. So here's what she does. Hold your hand up. She forced me. I said, I got this, honey. I got it. And so, but it's about communicating. It's about communicating. And she can say, well, that's just the way it is. But you have to be considerate of the other person. And every person likes certain things. Some people like certain things, and some people like other things. And you have to be willing to communicate that. And one of the things too is you have to be able to deal with criticism. We're going to talk about that later on, with criticism. Okay, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but what? Grievous words. We have to catch ourselves, because some of us, we can wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Anybody ever wake up on the wrong side of the bed? And so you can be irritable yourself. You can be upset yourself. And so you got to be mindful of when you're sensitive, when you're tired. And I tell my wife, we've been married. Let me see. We've been married a little while. I know when we got married. I know what day we got married. I had no problem. We had no problem. I know when I got married. I was going to try to see if I started asking if somebody can guess how long we've been married, but I shared with a few people. We have been married 42 years. 42 years. Yeah. And so, sometimes, you can have a rough day. I used to tell my wife, I said, honey, when I first get off from work, if the dog got hit by a car, please don't tell me. Let me unwind. Ladies, so sometimes, I'm going to say this to the ladies now. I hope y'all don't get offended. Let me know. Sometimes women like to, they've been home all day. They've been thinking about this right here, and they want to hit you as soon as you get in that door. Am I telling the truth? Well, I heard one sister say, amen. Thank you, sister. And it's all right to want to get it out, but you got to wait. Give a man a chance to unwind. A lot of times, people under pressure, men under a lot of pressure, off on the job. I was for a long time, I was the only black male in the whole building. So I dealt with a whole lot of folks. I had to put people in their place. And so by the time you get dealing with that, your home is your haven. You want some peace in the house, amen? I don't say the dog this, and the trash needs to be taken out, and this needs to be done. And I say, okay, baby, I'll do it. I said, wait a minute, give me a chance to unwind. So sisters, give them a chance to unwind. Because sometimes people don't realize that men need time to process that. Need time to process. Next one. So a soft answer turns away wrath. You can be rough, and that's with anybody. That's with anybody. You know, you can be, a man could be disrespectful to another man by talking rough to him. Sometimes fathers have to be careful how they talk to their sons. Some fathers are rough on them boys, and mamas ain't gonna have it. I'm telling you right now, mom ain't gonna have it. You want to fall out, be rough on that child, and mama gonna put you in your place. She may wait till he's awake, but she may not be awake. So we have to be careful. Next slide. Oh, wait, one step ahead of me. All right, y'all on it, okay. What's important to have in a healthy relationship? These are things that are important to have in a healthy relationship. Trust is at the top. I do couples counseling. I have a couple, bless her heart. Her biggest concern is trust. And we worked on that thing. We worked on it. And I have if anybody know Charlie Brown and Lucy, anyone ever see where Lucy tells Charlie Brown to kick the football? I use that in my couples therapy, and Lucy says, go ahead and kick it. And Charlie Brown, first he's reluctant. He said, no, I'm not going to raise it. And so he gets excited, and he believes it this time. And as soon as he runs out there, she raises the football, and he falls on his rear end. That's what happens when a person puts their trust in another person, that person disappoints them. And so you want to believe in that person. But if time and time again, you try to trust that person lets you down, after a while, you're going to just... And so this couple, we worked on trust. We thought we was doing good. I said, so we assessed the relationship. How you doing? How's trust? How you doing? You know, I'm feeling better. He's doing good. And you know, he'll tell a lie that for no reason. For no reason. So I asked her, did you have lunch today? And he said, no, I didn't have lunch. Well, why would a person lie like that? God, a lying spirit is probably what it is. He needs some deliverance. He needs a couple preachers to lay hands on. And so all of a sudden, it starts it right back up again. She's losing that trust in him. Men, we have to be careful. You have to keep your word. When you I try to watch what I say. Watch promises that you make to your spouse. Watch promises you make to your children. Watch promises you make. I tell you one thing. I deal with a whole lot of pastors, a whole lot of preachers. And I feel like if a preacher's word can't keep his word, I don't have much use for him. I'm going to tell you right now. I did not have much use for him. I had a pastor said, I'm going to pick you up at such and such time. He didn't even show up. So now if he tells me I'm going to pick him up, I say, you call me when you there. I don't need to waste my time with him. But you have to build trust with people. A healthy relationship, you got to be able to trust that person. But you know that little scenario where you catch somebody and fall back and let somebody catch you? How many folks you willing to fall back on? I don't know too many people I want to fall back on because you can't trust them. Can't trust folks. And so a healthy relationship involves trust, involves loyalty. You want to be happy in a relationship, don't you? You don't want to just be tolerating the other person, putting up with them. And a husband, wife, you should be best friends. The best friends. What's the best? What do you expect from your best friend? You know, of course, biblically speaking, it says, forsaking mother and father, forsaking all others, leave mother, father, forsaking all others. Sometimes I've seen situations where mother and father, boy, they can't get past that mother and father thing. Mama tell them what to do, daddy tell them what to do, and that deals with attachment issues, and we deal with that. Respect, you gotta respect. listen, if you're upset with your spouse, please don't raise your voice with them out in public. There's some wives that, man, they don't care who's around. They're gonna let you have it. Well, I wasn't trying to be mean. Yeah, you was being mean. If you weren't trying, that means you have a habit of talking rough and not knowing it. But what we have to do with the other person, we have to listen to the other person. Part of communication, I'm going to deal with that slide, is being willing to listen to the other person. Because if the other person says, you know, you sound like you're talking rough to me. I ain't talking rough to you. What you mean I'm talking rough to you? Well, if that's their perception that you're being rough, that becomes their reality. That becomes their reality. That's what they're hearing. You may be saying one thing, but they're hearing something totally different. So, give an example. Mrs. Walton. She's sitting back. We used to do this together. Say, for instance, she and I be talking, and she'll say, honey, I want you to take out the trash. Say, I want you to take out the trash.
Honey, I want you to take out the trash.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is, you want me to take out the trash by the end of the week? By the end of the month?
No, right now.
Boy, she sounded like she really me. I did do the trash while I left. So you have to communicate what they're saying. That's what you call reflective listening, because that may sound like it's untrue scenario, but really what can happen is sometimes wives say, I want this done, and husband, well, okay, I'll get it done by the end of the week, end of the month. And wife say, I want it done today. And you wives ever tell your husband that, and you want him to do it today, and like he's taking his time, and when he takes his time, what do? And depending on what the job is, you may pay someone else. Thank you, Sister Walton. You may pay someone else to do it. Sister Walton, my wife have done that before. She's done that. If I take too long, she said, if you can't do it, I'll pay somebody else to do it. She will pay them too. What's the checking account number, honey? But she'll do it. You know, you got to be able to laugh. You got to have some humor in the relationship. You know, it's a sad situation if you and your husband can't laugh, you and your children can't laugh, you can't laugh with folks in the church. It's a sad thing. I met quite a few people here at this conference. How many people I've met? We've laughed with people. Brand, I just met, just laugh. Might fuss at you a little bit. I don't know. Might fuss you in love, but you know, you got to have that type of relationship. But in a healthy relationship, especially in the church, we are brothers and sisters in the Lord, and so we should be able to get along with everybody. When I say praise the Lord, Brother Smith or Sister Jones, then we're like family to me, and I take that thing seriously. Freedom, give the other person independent. You don't have to watch the other person all the time. Honesty, forgiveness. Forgiveness is a big part. Forgiveness is hard. Sometimes people have a hard time forgiving, don't they? I ain't going to ask you to raise your hand, but people have a hard time forgetting and letting things go. And that's a process. I'm going to ask you, no, I ain't going to let you ask you to raise your hand because I ain't trying to put them on the spot. But this thing, ask yourself, how many of you have gotten into argument, get an argument today and talk about an argument that you had 5 years ago? You ain't got to raise your hand. But that's the reason why that happens. That's the reason why. Some of us be unforgiveness. Sometimes we haven't resolved anger. We have anger issues we haven't resolved, and that triggers. All of a sudden, that triggers those same emotions. You know, you say, you ain't changed a bit. That's what you're saying. You ain't. You're doing the exact same thing now that you did 5 years ago, and you got to work on that thing. So what you have to do is communicate. You have to tell that person, you know what you said 5 years ago hurt. It caused hurt to me, and I'm still hurting from it. And you have to sit down. You cannot just sweep over things, put a rug over it. You have to address some issues. You have to address some hurts. And sometimes the best time to address it is not in the middle of argument. And another thing, and I told you this, I told you to take out the trash, and you're going to do this right here, you do this. You have to wait till the right minute. So there's a time and a season for everything. How many of y'all know that? So if you upset, the other person upset, say, listen, we need to deal with this. When's a good time for you to deal with it? Because it needs to be dealt with. You can't sweep it under the rug. You have to, some issue, you have to deal with it. Because what happens if you don't deal with it, one of the person's angry, they're hurt, and they're walking around, and my wife and I was dealing with a couple one time, and the husband said, every time me and my wife get in an argument, I get diarrhea after she fixing my food. That's what he said. So he thinks his wife was putting something in his food. I hope none of your sisters do that. But I tell you one thing I have learned. When my wife is in a good mood, the breakfast tastes better. I know it's the truth. It does. It tastes. It's more love in it. But she'll fix it when she's upset, but it just ain't the same. Sometimes I say, honey, that's all right. Don't even worry about it. Because I can just tell it's just not going to be right. Random acts of kindness. Be nice. Don't have to wait till birthdays, anniversary. How many husbands show the wives random acts of kindness? All right, y'all doing good. All right. Well, those who didn't raise a hand, let today you can do it. Random acts of kindness. Ladies, is all right if they do a random act of kindness today? The sisters say amen. I ain't heard not one brother say amen. Come on, brother, help us out. Now I'm trying to help you out. Random act. You know what? Yes, ma'am.
And talking about random acts of kindness, why don't we do one right now?
Okay, she said random acts of kindness. Okay. Okay, let me see. I'm going to say 3 things. 2 of them are true and 1 is false. Let me see. 3 are true, 1 is false. My wife was my next door neighbor. That's how I met her. Let me see. I was mobbed out of the country. Wife is, let me see. Wife is the youngest of 20 children. Who wants to guess which one it is? Which one is not true? Beg pardon? Being mobbed out of the country. Okay, I'm gonna give 2 more people a chance. I'm not saying it's right and it's wrong. Anybody agree with that? Youngest out of 20 children, yeah. Okay, so, and the answer was the first one. I was in Montserrat, West Indies, and I was getting out the curb. I accidentally hit a window, a river, and so many folks came around me. I ain't never seen so many folks come around a person within 5 seconds. They said, the American, he broke the window. I'm telling you, about 200 folks mobbed me. They came around. They didn't attack me, but they came around me, and I started sweating. Bullets, y'all. In a different country, and some of the countries, they kind of aggressive. I said, I don't know what I'm going to have to do right here. But that's true, and my wife is the youngest out of 20 children. Her mom had 20 children. So, born in Alabama. So one is not true. She was not my next door neighbor, but when we were dating, she did live the next street over. She lived. Nobody won because nobody got it right. So I'm going to have to give something else. You said what? No, that's true. That's true. The question is 2 things are true and 1 thing was not true. She was not my next door neighbor coming up. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give Mother a coupon for I'm gonna give Mom a coupon. Random acts of kindness. All right, Mom went for the biggest envelope. I didn't know that. She said both gifts. All right, we're gonna do another one, a couple more. Next one. Communication relations, impact or exchange of information, news, direct communication between 2 countries will produce greater understanding. I'm going to move on because I think we run out of time. Next one. According to Arthur Gary Small in his book, Making Love Last Forever, he states there are 5 vital signs of a healthy marriage relationship. I will include a number of these to be signs of a healthy. Everyone in a relationship feels safe to think for themselves. This is so important. I'm going to take time with this, right? In other words, you should be able to talk to your spouse, your husband, no matter what it is. Even if it's your insecurity, even if you say, you know what, I'm having problems with my temper. And you sure do. You got problems. No. You should be able to talk to that person and say, you know what, let's work on it. Yeah, you should see sometimes, and I'm going to tell you what happens. I wrote a book called The Window to Understanding and Building Healthy Relationships. One of the biggest problems of infidelity, one chapter I talk about how to avoid and have an affair. One of the biggest things is, I'm going to say this right here, this is very helpful. If you don't listen to that man, guess what? Devil's going to send some sister out there that's going to listen to him. We have to learn how to be understanding with people and meet people where they're at. We're steady growing. And if you're not listening, we all have a need to be heard, is that right? Men, how many of y'all have a need to be heard? You have a need to be heard. And so wives, we have to understand that man needs to be heard just like you do. But I'm going to flip the reverse. Women have a need to be heard as well. I write in my book, I said, women do not want you to answer all their problems, but just be willing to listen to what they're saying. I'm going to say that again because it's important, man. You know, y'all activate this, you'll thank me for it later. They don't need you to answer all their problems. Just listen. I give examples. True story. Me and my wife were talking about something. I said, honey, I'm just going to just listen to you. Talk about whatever you want to say. I don't know what made me say it. She said, no, because you're going to interrupt me. I said, no, honey, I'm going to listen to you. And so she began to talk and talk and talk. And I said to myself, oh, my God. I said, what in the world? I'm listening to what she's saying, and some of it didn't make sense. And I wanted to interrupt so bad. I said, Lord, I'm saying, Holy Ghost, help me. This is true story. This is true story. So I'm saying, Lord, help me. Because in my mind, it wasn't making a whole lot of sense. But she kept on talking, and she said, you know what? That really don't make any sense. And we both started laughing. I didn't have to say anything. But the fact that I was willing to listen, she was able to process it. Sometimes people have to hear themselves talk. They have to hear it. And as they hear it, then all of a sudden they begin to think about it. And I was so happy she said it because I sure wanted to say it, but I kept my word. So that's the importance of listening. And men need to be listened to, too. We all need to take time to listen to the other person. You'd be surprised what will happen. You take a day and tell your wife, say, honey, just tell me what's on your mind. I want to listen to it. And I tell you the exact same thing with your children. You know, we were, where was it yesterday? Somebody was telling us. We were out to dinner with one of the district elders. He was telling me that a friend of theirs, her son committed suicide. People are hurting. People have a need to be heard, but what happens is people are like, nobody cares about me. Nobody cares what's going on. Talk to your children. Tell them what's on your mind. Sometimes I would tell my daughter, I remember my daughter, every Monday used to be our day, every Monday. My wife used to work with Dennis, and Monday was her late day, so every Monday was our day. So when she was 5 years old, 10 years old, I said, honey, you like boys yet? No, Daddy. So we talk about everything. She said, we talk about everything. Then she got 12 years old. I said, you like boys? She said, no, Daddy, no, Daddy. She got 13. I said, you like boys? She said, I ain't gonna lie to you, Daddy, I do. And I said, oh my God, no. I said, okay. I started sweating. I said, all right. But you have to build a relationship where a person feels comfortable to talk to you. You know, just think what it would be like if you had a spouse or a friend, somebody that they criticize you every time you talk to them, every time you told them how you felt. And sometimes just be honest with that person and be willing to accept what they're saying, and you may be able to help that person. By listening to them, you may be able to help them. Okay, it should be, feel free to think for yourself. Not two people are going to think alike. No two people are going to think alike. So don't get upset because the other person. My wife and I, we are We actually born the same month, same day, and same year. I call her my twin. That's my twin. And so she and I'm aggressive, and she's real laid back. Y'all look at her, she's real laid back. She ain't got to take the center in front, but I don't mind talking. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care who you are. I'll talk. I can go anywhere in the world, and I'm going to strike up a conversation with somebody. I was in Portland, Oregon 2 weeks ago, and with some people, and we just talked like we've known each other for years. Now, my wife, she's very selective who she talks to. She ain't going to go out there. But we're different. That's what makes us unique. And so I can't change her. Sometimes we try to change people. Be willing to accept your mate for what they are. Don't try to change people. Because you can't change folks. If you try to change somebody to something they're not going to be happy anyway. So you got to be willing to be accepted. Look before you leap is what I'm saying. It's too late to tell y'all that, because unless y'all engaged, but it's too late. Y'all now already leaped, jumped, and everything else, dive, so it's too late. But be willing to understand it. All are encouraged to talk and know their words will be valued. So that means when you are talking to someone, make that person feel like you really respect and you care about honey, go ahead and tell me what's going on. Oh, here we go again. Now, that's not healthy. Didn't we just talk about that? These are things that I hear in counseling sessions, and then people wonder what's going on. One of the things I do in my counseling session, I used to do face-to-face, but I do have clients all over the country. I do Zoom. And so at one point, and the clients know, but they forget. I said, can I put you hold for a second? So I take my picture off and volume. I'm watching them. I'm watching how they interact when they are not aware that I'm watching them. And they go from smiling. So you have to be careful how you talk to the other person. Be mindful of that person. Yes, ma'am.
I have a comment. And then, too, doing things intentionally. Like, for example,
Can y'all hear her?
I kind of like to tell this story because this is what happened with, because this is what happened with him and I. So I think it was like our 40th anniversary or something like that, maybe. And of course, he wanted to take me out or something. I was like, I really didn't feel like going and stuff. And I just was getting ready to just put on, just kind of anything. Then I thought, this is special. And so to do things intentionally. So I went and put on one out of two of St. John's skirts, and nice top, dressed up. I did it purposely. So sometimes you just have to think about it and just do things intentionally.
Well, you keep talking like that, you might get a third one today. I don't know. In relationships, you have to work together. I tell this many times. I do seminars. Me and my wife, we've been married 42 years. And when we first got married, like a lot of young folks, we argued. Anybody here never argued? Yeah, we argued. Now, anybody never argued? Anybody? Yeah, we argued. So one day we got into argument. My wife likes it cool. She likes it cold. I cannot take the cold. So we was arguing one day, and so all of a sudden I hit the air conditioning unit. We lived in an apartment then. First year we got married. Had the air conditioning, and that thing went vroom. And then she came back, and I hit the heat rather. She came back and hit the air conditioning, thing went vroom. And so guess what? I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All of a sudden I hit the heat and went vroom. The thing went out. But see, I told her God was with me because it went out with the heat on. And so the maintenance man said, I've never seen that happen before. I said, ain't that a shame? We didn't tell him what happened. But you know what we do now? We don't have that problem too much now. You know why? She still likes it cool and I still like it warm. But I have this on my phone right here. I have the app on here. I can control the thermostat from here. So she would go to bed before me, and I wake up, I'm like this right here, shivering. I'd be so cold, shivering. I said, what's going on? But now I had to get up. I'd be too tired to get up and go to the thermostat. So now I have to just reach over to the nightstand and turn it up, and then she'll say, you turned the heat on, didn't you? I said, yes, ma'am, I sure did. God's still looking out for me. A sense, us all enjoy a sense of safety and value in sharing their feelings. You should feel safe in sharing your experience, sharing your feelings with the other person. All feel meaningfully connected. Feel like that the other person you're valued by the other person. That the other person values you. And every person should strive to make sure, maybe ask your spouse, do you feel like I value you? Maybe you do that as a homework assignment. Do you feel like I value you? That's something small, but you'd be surprised how many people say, I really don't feel valued. That's a book that I've written, the last book I just actually got the publication this week, A Woman's Worth, Do You Know Your Value? And some women don't feel value. And so another reason causes infidelity, some men take the wives for granted. You treat her nice when y'all was courting, and now you take it for granted. Sometimes people open doors for other sisters, and the wife comes home, you get them in the car. And so a sister will tell you that. And nobody won't say amen, so I'll say, and so I've done that before. I've opened the door, my wife said, you didn't open the door for me? So I said, I'm sorry, baby, right? So I make sure I open the door the next 10 times, all right? So because sometimes men are not aware of that, but we have to be aware. And things that we take lightly, guess what? Women are taking notes. Look at open door for her. Think about it. Listen, I'm telling you, man, women are sharp. Man, they got some photographic memories. They don't forget nothing. They're watching you. I'll give you an example. Men, listen, I don't care how nice that sister looks, walking back, don't do like this. Men do like this right here. Now, some men kind of slick. They'll move the eye like this right here. I'm telling the truth, amen. You don't have to say amen. Bros think they slick. They'll move the eye right. They'll move the eye like that. And the sister, I remember one time I was somewhere and my wife was behind me. She said, I seen you looking at so-and-so. I said, how you going to see me? I'm behind you. She's behind me. How are you going to see? This is some years ago. But brother, listen to this right. Sisters are slick. Sisters do like this right. Within a millisecond, they tell you what color the shoes, if the nails was clean. They can look in a couple of seconds. They are good, brother. They are good. So don't think they don't do it. And so we just have to be kind of careful. So what I do is I make sure that my wife looks nice. So that's the one I'm looking at. Make sure that your wife looks nice. Give her the things she wants and make sure. And continue to court that relationship. I don't care how long. We've been married 42 years and I still try. I tell my wife, anywhere you want to go. But I just want to take time and acknowledge the bishop. God bless. Let's give the bishop a hand praise. Amen. Bishop, amen. I always got to acknowledge the bishop when he comes in. Bishop was in a seminar that I did in Louisville, Kentucky. Personal property lines are all respected. You have to respect the other person. Respect the person. If you give somebody something, that's theirs. That's theirs. It don't mean, well, I gave it to you. I can do whatever I want. I've had clients where the husband has given the wife something, a wife has given the husband something, and he gets mad at her, and he'll throw the clothes away. Well, I got it to her. No, you can't. You don't have the right to throw anybody's stuff away. But see, most of the clients, most of them are not saved, so they're doing things that we shouldn't have in the church. But folks get mad and they feel like they can rip something up yours. Well, I gave it to them. Well, you gave it to them, right? That's theirs. You don't no longer have ownership, and you're no longer entitled to it. You can't just do what you want to do with it. Next one. Challenging relationship, lack of communication. We talk about that. Some people just sit and just look at each other. You got to communicate. You got to talk sometime. My wife and I, we play Uno. We get together and play Uno. Matter of fact, I brought the Uno cards with me. We do okay until she starts cheating. She likes to cheat sometimes, y'all. She's gone, so I can say that. She gets to cheating. But you have to find something. Find something that you enjoy doing. Just something that's playful. It doesn't cost money. Just be good friends. Get along with each other. Lack of trust. We talk about lack of trust, man. Oh boy, I deal with so many people that just don't have trust. That's a terrible thing not to be able to trust somebody. It's a terrible thing. And if you find that you cannot trust a person, and you need to have that conversation. Why is it that you don't trust me? And what can I do to build that trust? It takes time, brothers. It takes time to build trust, especially if there's infidelity. It takes time. I'm not saying it's not impossible. It takes time. Well, I say I'm sorry. Okay. What's supposed to be? Actions speak louder than words. Some men say because I say I'm sorry, that's enough. No. That woman wants to feel like I can trust this man no matter what. And so we have to work on the trust. Lack of attention. Focus on your wife, amen. Compliment your wife. I make sure I compliment my wife. I tell my wife, honey, you look nice. I try to tell her every day. Because guess what? Now, I've had men say, nobody want her. I said, brother, I said, you lying. I said, you want her, didn't you? Talking about nobody want her, nobody wants you. Hey, listen, brothers, don't fool yourself. You may somehow let the devil cause you to think that your wife is unattractive, but I tell you, there's somebody gonna be looking there, amen. Your sister, y'all can say amen. Y'all can say amen. You can say, he told me to say amen. But there's somebody gonna find her attractive. There might be somebody that find her attractive right now. And that's why you have to be very careful, because the time you ignore her, the time that somebody slick a little rascal on the job is gonna say, girl, you sure looking good. What's different about you today? Is that a new hairdo? And you say, man, my husband didn't even know I changed my hairdo. My hair been like this for 6 months. He didn't even know I changed it. Notice those little changes. She gets a new outfit, tell me, oh, that's nice. So that means in order to do that, you have to pay attention. Pay attention. Look at your wife. Look at her. Compliment her. I like that nail polish. I like that bracelet on you. What do you like? And if you like a certain hairdo, then pay for it. Say, here's some money, honey. Go get your hair done. Take care of it. Them other sisters, the reason why they're looking good, take money. It takes money. Somebody had an investment. You have to invest in your wife. Lack of commitment. You got to be committed. One of the things in a relationship, they said some of the healthy relationships or committed relationships are those who are arranged marriages. Because there's not a lot of expectations. You're saying we are committed to this relationship. Here's the problem with a lot of relationships. If this joker don't work out with me, I'm going to get me a new one. I had a sister told me, this is a true story. I'm telling you, in the church, she was saved and evangelist. She said, I'm going to get rid of my husband, and God already showed me who my next husband's going to be. I said, what kind of foolishness is that? That's been about 25, 30 years. She got divorced, her husband got remarried, and she's still single. Have to be careful. But you have to say, here's the type of attitude we have to have. I'm in this for the haul. I don't care, come what may, we're going to work this thing out. Because if you're committed to working it out, it's not if this don't work out, I got plan B. It's that we're going to find a way to make this happen. And when you're committed to that, then nothing can stop your relationship. 42 years. Have we had arguments, disagreements? We had a lot of challenges in our relationship. You know, my wife and I wrote another book called The Empty Quiver. And my wife and I had a son that lived 3 months and died. Very painful. One of the most tragic things could have ever happened to us. And I had a professor when I was in college. I have never met a couple who lost a child like that and stayed together, because it causes a lot of challenges. It causes a lot of problems because you grieve differently. And you know, sometimes one person, I talk about that in the book, sometimes one spouse gets upset with the other person because the other person appears to be moving on and you're still in the grieving process. Anybody here ever dealt with grief and loss? See, sometimes people don't understand. People get upset with you because you're processing and moving on, and they can't understand why you're still in that process, why you're still grieving. And so you have to be understanding with the other person. You have to be willing to say, hey, I understand what you're going through. Yes, ma'am. Wow. Whew. Say it, sis. Do y'all hear what she said?
come up with it, you didn't do that, then guess what? You at a loss.
Very good. I appreciate your transparency and sharing because I hear that a whole lot. And most women feel like the husbands should be able to be telepathic, read minds. I guarantee every woman in this place at one time thought that. He ought to know. He should know. Men are human, y'all. That's why God gave man a helpmate, a woman to help him. A good man needs a good woman to help him to remember stuff. Because I tell my wife all the time, honey, help me remind me. I have Alexa. Anybody know what Alexa is? Yeah. I have Alexis, and when Alexis is around, I say, Alexa, remind me of such. But when I was at the hotel, I said, Shirley, remind me of this right here. That's my Alexa right there. Because I'm going to forget. But we have to realize that men are human, and there are some things you would think that they know, but you don't know what a person's dealing with. You don't know the stress. You don't know the mental anxiety they're dealing with. Some people in the church are dealing with depression. Your husband might be dealing with depression. And men would not tell you I'm dealing with depression because for most people, that makes them appear to be weak. And that's another subject I deal with too. A lot of people deal with depression and they don't want to admit it. If you're dealing with depression, you should be able to tell your wife, honey, I'm dealing with depression right now. I'm going through. Pray for me. So she'll understand why you're behaving like you're behaving. Women need to tell the husband, I'm going through. I'm dealing with anxiety. I'm dealing with stress. So he'll understand. Be patient with me. Sometimes people can't respond because they don't know what you're going through. When I wrote the book, The Empty Quiver, my best friend came to me. He said, man, I'm so sorry. He said, I didn't know that you dealt with all that. He said, I wish I had been a better friend. I never expressed to him because I was holding all this in. And so sometimes people holding things in, and you need to communicate. You need to communicate with that person. Honey, I need you to talk to me. But what do you need, honey? Well, this is what I really need. Maybe I need you to listen. What are your thoughts? Tell me this right here. But be able to communicate and don't expect that person to be able to read your mind. And some things they should, but guess what? They're not. So what you gonna do? Right. You do kick them to the curb because they don't know. I was talking to a friend of mine in Michigan. I said, what do you do for your wife for her birthday today? Birthday? What's the day? He didn't even know it was his wife's birthday. I said, now you all know when your wife's birthday is. But he did not know. I might have saved his marriage, I don't know, man. But I should have told him, give me something for that. Okay, next slide. What helps to maintain healthy relationship? How much time do I have, Bishop? 20 minutes, right? Ooh, look. Okay, communicate more, build trust by being honest with others. Now here's something. When you talk about how you talk to a person, when we first got married, I did not like vacuum cleaning. I don't like vacuuming. My wife used to say, honey, I need you to vacuum. I said, baby, I don't feel like doing it. But you know what she started doing? She said, baby, you look so strong vacuuming. The muscles are popping. How are you on? And I started doing this. I said, you got any more rooms for my vacuum? A kind word is the way that you say things. I'm going to go through a little bit faster. 4 things that destroy relationships. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. Next slide. These are different things. Next slide. Criticism. Criticizing your partner is different than offering a critique or voicing. There's a difference between critiquing the person and criticizing. Criticizing, critiquing, is often offering a critique or a voice, a concern, complaint. Next one. Criticism. You can't do nothing wrong. I thought I told you to take the trash out. Thank you, Sister. See, she corrected me. That's what I have for her. I thought I told you to take the trash out. Criticism. But critiquing say, honey, did you take the trash out? There's a difference, isn't there? You can pose the same question, but in a different way. Honey, did you remember to take the trash out? Did you forget to take the trash out again? Which one sounds better? Did you remember to take the trash out, dear? Did you leave that trash out? You forget to take the trash out again. Because we have this sometime every once in a while, I forget to take the trash out. She'll say, honey, did you forget to take the trash out? I said, I think I did. And in fact, you are dismantling their whole being when you criticize a person. Be careful criticizing. It has to be the same way with children. preachers in the church. We got pastors who criticize the deacon and wonder why the deacons are running away from the church. You better have some respect for that man. Deacon Jones. Is it probably Deacon Jones? Right. I was a Deacon Jones somewhere, man. Deacon Jones, I know it's Deacon Jones. We're having a few problems here. What can we do to work with it? Deacon, you mess up again. Can't just talk to him. You may feel like it, but you cannot talk to people any kind of way. Next one. It is important to know the difference between expressing a complaint and criticizing. Next slide. The blame game. Oh, Lord. Well, this is why people come to me all the time for counseling, the blame game. Whose fault is it? When things don't go wrong in your home, whose fault is it? You know what I tell some of my clients when we're talking, I said there's enough responsibility to go wrong for everybody. It means everybody has a certain amount of input in it. Okay, next one. Instead of blaming another person, look at yourself. Focus on what could I have done better. How could I? Listen, I tell you, here's what happens a whole lot. Say, for instance, just an example. Sister Wall and I get in an argument talking about something, and said, well, you should do this. Well, you didn't do this right here. Instead of accepting responsibility, you're trying to find fault in the other person. You'll never get anything accomplished by doing it. Next slide. Contempt. Mock them with sarcasm. There you go again. What'd you do this time? That's contempt. You're putting the person down. We have to be very careful. Putting the person down. Don't put your spouse down. Husband, don't put your wife down. Wife, don't put your husband, especially in front of other folks. Not even in front of their own family. Who wants to be put down in front of anybody? Don't put them down. Some folks will put you down in front of their own family. If their family don't care. Now, my brother-in-law told me, you better never say nothing about my sister, right or wrong. He wasn't going to have that. So you got to be careful who you talk to. Especially be careful when you're talking to other people outside about you. And plus, you have to be careful who you talk to. Sister, you better be careful when you talking about your husband to some other woman, because she said, honey, boy, I'd have been and got rid of him. You took that from him? Yeah, sister told me that. Guess what happened? Y'all already know. She divorced me, and the other sister married him. Y'all better be careful who y'all talking to. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Better be careful. Don't be saying I'd be glad to give you somebody. I'd be glad to have that person. Ridicule, calling them names. The target contempt is made to feel despised and worthless. You don't want to make a person feel bad. No one wins in that situation. See that they're both on a cliff, and he thinks he's going to cut the other person off, but guess what? He's going to fall. When you hurt the person that you're close to, you cannot hurt them without affecting you. Because when they're hurt, it affects your quality of life. Even when you argue, don't argue, folks, because if that's a no-win situation. Build the other person up. Next one. Contempt goes far beyond criticism. While criticism attacks your partner's character, contempt assumes a position of moral superiority over them. In other words, when you're trying to be contempt, you say, yeah, right. You did this again. You make yourself like you're better than them. Sometimes husbands make themselves like they're better than wives. Wives make themselves like they're better than husbands. That's contempt. What's wrong with you, honey? You did this again. Next one. Okay, all right. Friendly. Conflict is not always bad. How many people think conflict is bad in a relationship? Conflict is not always bad. Conflict is saying there's something that we have to agree upon, and we have to find a way to work it out. Here's the problem. Some people are afraid of conflict, but because they don't talk about it, they respond subconsciously. They respond rather than to talk about it. If you're upset with your spouse, let them know that you're upset. Conflict allows you the opportunity to work on whatever the problem is. Healthy conflict is a negative conflict, and there's a healthy conflict. They gave me an extra 15 minutes. Somebody shout hallelujah. They must have known how slow I talk, so they said he needs some more time. Yes, ma'am. I'll tell you what. All right. Okay. My wife, we both born the same month, same day, same year. We were born April 8th. Who closer one to our birthday? Whoever's born close, who's closer birthday close to April 8th? Triplets. Oh, man, he's triplets. What year were you born, brother? 42? You were born in 42 or you 42? 42, all right. There you go. Let's give Lord hand of praise for that. Amen. Normally what we do is we give, like, at the last we gave hotel coupons, but then I'm not familiar with the Philadelphia area, so maybe if I come back again I can do more, but we have a few smaller gifts that we have this time. Okay, friendly fighting, not hitting below the belt, not attacking other person's integrity. Sometimes people, get upset, you and your big fat head. Now, you know that man is self-conscious of his head, so why you want to talk about his head? So you have to be careful. Don't hit below the belt. Honey, I was just kidding. Some people are sensitive. Do y'all know some people are sensitive? Some people are sensitive. And you have to be careful what you say to a person. Husbands have to be careful what they say to their wife. Well, honey, I was just playing. Was you really playing? There you go. You said, why you say it? You have to be careful. Here's what someone told me. You don't always have to say what your thoughts are. I'll give an example. My wife and I was in an argument. It was an argument. And the devil on this shoulder said, go ahead and say it. But angel this shoulder said, don't say it. But the devil said, thank you, Sister Wall. I got a handkerchief in my pocket. And the devil said, go ahead and say it, man. Go ahead and say it. She needs you to say it. But the angel said, you better not say it. You know you get in trouble. And y'all know me being spiritual. You know what I did, right? Boy, that's it. I said it. I sure did. I said it, Bishop. I said it. And boy, what did I say that for? The angel was right. I said I shouldn't have said. See, sometimes we can say things because we're caught up in the moment and it seems like it's the right thing to do. And after you do, how many of y'all have to do? Let's be honest. How many of you have said things and then afterwards say, I shouldn't have said things? Give yourself a 30-second rule. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. Think about how it's going to affect the other person. Words are, I don't know who came with that. The people said sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Who came with that? Because, man, words can hurt you, can't they? Words can hurt you. So you have to ask yourself, is what I'm saying helpful? Is it needful? Or is this just the right time to say it? You have to know when is the proper time. Amen, sister, thank you. When my wife is upset, I know to back up. Ain't no sense in me pushing, keep on. You might get some scald grits on you. No, she ain't done that. She wouldn't do that. Al Green did it. That grits wasn't it? She said, don't say that. No, she ain't gonna throw no grits on me. She might throw a baseball upside my head or something. I don't know. But we have to watch what we say, when to say it. Next slide. Would you see this as friendly or unfriendly fighting? You see that? For some people, this is norm and they see nothing wrong with it. Can you believe that? If you brought up in a family, your mama fussed at your dad and your daddy fussed at your mama, you feel like they ain't getting along unless they fussing. And so we have to deal with attachment issues. What you were brought up under. If you were brought up and your dad fussed at your mom fussed at your dad, that's a norm. That becomes a personal norm, and you got to change that norm. And you have to show them a different way. There are a lot of people brought up their homes different ways, and that's why you have to understand, have those conversations with your family. And when I do premarital counseling, I had a couple. They came to me and said, "Pastor, we want to get married." That's okay. Good. I said, "Let's do premarital counseling." "We don't need no premarital counseling. We in love." That's okay. But I would not perform a marriage ceremony unless I do premarital. "Well, that's okay. We'll just go to a justice of the peace." And guess what they did? I said, "Help yourself." See, sometimes you can't compromise for folks. You can't compromise your integrity. You can't compromise your value, especially when you're doing the right thing. Don't you know they were not together 2 months? But we was in love. We in love. We in love. It was 2 years before the brother came back to me and told me, he said, "Pastor, I was so wrong." I was sorry. It took them 2 years to do it. I was preaching one time. God has given me a spirit of discernment. I can shake your hand, and most of the time, 9% of the time, 95%. Well, it used to be 97%. I'm slipping. I guess I'm getting older now. 95%. I can tell you a lot about that person. I can tell you a whole lot. But I was preaching at church, and pastor said, the bishop is going to pray for everybody in the church. Oh my God, no, he didn't. Because I'm not the type of person. I don't like to pray for everybody. I'll say, let's pray corporate prayer for everybody. Because it does, and when I pray for an individual, I ask God to tell me what's going with that person, And so I pray for every individual, but God gave me a word for every individual, what they were dealing with. And the Lord spoke to me, said, the pastor and his wife are competing against each other. And I whispered in his ear, I don't take the microphone, the pastor, God told me you and your wife ain't getting, no, I didn't say that. I took the microphone away because I didn't want to hear it. And I told him, the Lord told me, no, that's not true. That's not true. The pastor told me, that's a pastor now. Don't you know, he came back about a year later. He said, you know, you was really right what you said. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest how we talk to each other. They were competing against each other. I had a couple one time, I picked them up from church. They needed a ride from church. Said, can you give me a ride home? Pastor, you know what? God gave me a word of knowledge. I was like, Pastor, God gave me dreams. Which one's more important, Pastor? They were competing against each other. Huh? I said, you're a team. I always remember that you're a team. Work together. When you put her down, you're putting yourself down. There's a terrible man that's going to put his wife down. You don't look attractive putting your wife down. Amen. Wives, you don't look attractive putting that man down. But I'm telling you, like the other sisters, you keep putting them down. Keep putting them down. Some sisters going to say, it's a shame. It's a shame how your wife talks to you. She do it like to you all the time? And he'd be saying, Okay, you better be careful. Next slide. Some people view arguments like a chess match. Y'all know what that means? Many times people are arguing and they're not listening to what the other person's saying. They say, I'm waiting for my next move. Anybody here play chess? Chess, you're thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead of time. 2 or 3 moves ahead of time. Defense, you think about defense, offense. And some people look at relationships like that. And instead of listening to what the other person's saying, you're waiting to counteract what they said. Just take the time to process what they're saying and say, is this valid what they're saying? Does it make sense? If you think, well, it don't make sense, ask yourself again, put yourself in their place. If they say that to me, sometimes that really helps. If they say that to me, see, it's okay if you say it to them. But I said, what would happen if they said it to me the way I said it to them? Would you receive it? And sometimes you have to ask yourself that. Listen, don't view it as a chess match that you're trying to make the next move and not worrying about what they're doing. But listen and work together. Next one. Contempt minimize the other person is you're tired, cry me river, you ain't nothing but old crybaby. There you go again. You always complaining. You're not listening to what they're saying. In other words, you're mocking them, you're content. You're minimizing what they're saying. And then you say, we don't communicate. Who wants to communicate with somebody that every time you tell them how you feel, they're going to put you down, they're going to minimize like it's no big deal? Oh, is that how you feel, dear? I appreciate you sharing that with me. Oh, you think I get too loud? Okay. You think I talk too much? Well, okay, I'll work on that. You see what I'm saying? You think I'm too critical? Well, I ain't critical. No, you don't say that. I ain't critical enough. I add to it. That's what some folks do. I'll add to it first now. But thank you for sharing and work on it. Sometimes you may want to take notes. Take some notes, brothers. Sister, take notes. Next one. Defensiveness is typically a response to criticism. When we feel unjustly accused, we fish out excuses and play the innocent victim so that our partner will back off. And so, defensive. Did you call Bay and Ralph to let them know that we're not coming tonight as you promised this morning? Defensive person. I was just too tired, too busy. As a matter of fact, you just how busy my schedule. In other words, instead of you accepting it, you're being defensive. How many of y'all have dealt with some? Well, that's all right. You don't raise your hand. I don't want to cause no trouble. But I will give you my number if you have a problem. I do counseling. And so you're trying to express to a person how you feel. And that person is saying, woe is me. They turn around like I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Honey, did you cook dinner today? Well, you know I was tired. You know I did this right here. You know, in other words, say, why would you expect me to fix dinner? I'm going through all this right here. All you have to do is say, you know what, baby, I didn't fix dinner. Maybe I can fix it tomorrow. See, that's always an easy solution. Fix it tomorrow. Just have enough humility to say it tomorrow. Honey, did you cut the grass? Was me and my wife, sometimes she says, honey, did you cut the grass? Yes, ma'am. Well, then do what I do at home. Either she cooks or I'll go buy something. Sardines, yeah, that's push come to shove, I'll give me a can of sardines out. I'll tell. But my wife, when I met my wife, one reason she used to make me a cake or a pie from scratch every week. You know what that was, Bishop? Reeling me in there. When I first got married, I think I weighed 137 pounds. I told her she fed me up like a Thanksgiving turkey. Bake a pie or cake every week from scratch, and she used to make all her clothes. She used to make all her clothes. And she still sews very well. Matter of fact, she has some things out there for sale. So try not to be defensive. If a person, don't turn around and make them feel like they did something wrong. Listen to what there's the next one. Try it. Okay, so unfortunately, this strategy is almost never successful. Our excuse just to tell other partner that we don't take their concerns seriously when we won't take responsible action. Again, I'm going to say that when you do that, you're really telling the person, I'm not taking you serious. I have a couple books here. Let me see. All right. We got a couple here. Who wants to volunteer? What couple wants to volunteer? Come on down. Couple wants to volunteer. Come on down. All right, come on down. Uh-oh, you ready? You sure y'all can handle this right here? This is a book that I wrote. I wrote a book called The Window to Understanding and Building Healthy Relationships, but this is a companion workbook that I wrote. I use this right here in couples counseling. Okay, now, I'm just going to ask you a simple question that's in this book right here. Believe it or not, okay, here's the question. On a scale from 1 to 10, how great is your need for acceptance? And on here it says your spouse, your significant other, your family, your friends, or your coworkers. So I'm going to start with you. What's your name?
Elder Smith.
Okay, thank you. Elder Smith, and what's your name?
Pamela.
Pamela Smith. All right. Okay, I'm going to start you. Don't tell me. I just want you to take a number. On a scale from 1 to 10, what is your need for acceptance from your husband? 10 means that you need that you need a lot of acceptance. 1 means that you're okay with the amount of acceptance you're getting. Everyone understand that? Okay. 10 means I need more acceptance. Okay. And I want you to do the exact same thing. Take a number in your hand. This is how much acceptance. In other words, if I say 1 means that I'm getting all the acceptance from my wife that I need and I don't need no more. Okay? You got a number in your head? Okay. You got the number in your head? So, tell me, what number do you think that your husband said? In other words, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much acceptance he needs?
2.
2. What do you say, Alder?
I'd say 1.
There you go. So that's good. That's good because they're close. What it does is you can get understand. I had a couple. The husband was mean as a junkyard dog. I mean, this guy was mean. He was mean. And so I asked him the exact same question, and we both thought he was going to say a 1. You know that fellow said a 10? I said, as mean as he is, he's talking about a 10. He's criticizing her person. But we found out part of the problem, he was not feeling that he was getting enough acceptance. And so sometimes people, instead of communicating, they act things out, and that's what he did. All right. What do you think your wife said? What number did she?
What did she just
What's her number amount of acceptance that she needs from you?
Well, I thought she would say the same thing. I said one.
Okay. What do you say? You already said two?
She said two.
Okay. What's his? I'm sorry.
She said two, and I said one.
You said two and you said one? Okay. But I wanted to know, let me get this right. Got me kind of confused. I wanted to know what did you think his was. But he already told you
Yes.
his, but he wasn't supposed to tell you.
Oh.
That's what it was. He wasn't supposed to tell you. So, okay. So the reason why I said it because if you know what your person's level of acceptance from you or need from you, then you can evaluate that with this right here, and you come back 6 months. If the person's a 1 and the other person is 10, then you can close that gap, and then you can say, well, what do I need to close that gap? So you can have this book, and the next week can come back. And I've had this with clients. They come back and say, hey, you know what? It's no longer a 10. It may just be, it may be an 8, maybe a 9, but they're moving in the right direction. So that's what this book. Thank you very much. I'm going to give you guys this book right here. And listen, hold on. That one, we put one more. Get one more here. Okay. Now this is a little late. So I use this for premarital counseling too, but it's a little late once you get married. We'll let you. Okay. 10 minutes. Okay. What is your ideal type of relationship? And I'll just say this right here. Which is most important to you? An affectionate relationship, a physical relationship, emotional closeness, stimulating conversation, going to the movies, going on an exotic vacation, walks in the park, just staying at home, a long time reading a book, or something else. So you can just ask yourself that. And I do this premarital counseling because if you want to travel all the time, you got somebody that don't want to travel, you got a problem. Ain't no sense to say, what's wrong with you? You need to find out before you get married, because now that you're married, it's too late now. You're just gonna have to make that adjustment now. And so these are things that you look at, and so this helps you to understand your compatibility with the other person. And so as you go through this book right here, you can constantly change and evaluate. You'd be surprised things that you'll find out about that person. How effective communicator are you? Do you see yourself as being an effective communicator? Most men think I'm a very good communicator. You may even need to ask why. Here you go. Thank you very much. God bless you. Okay. What number slide is this right here? Beg pardon? Okay, let's hit the next one real quick. I'm trying to finish this thing up. They give me 10, I'll try to finish 5. Okay, so if someone complains or tells you something that you didn't do, just say, oops, I forgot. I should have asked you this morning to do it because I knew my day would be packed. That's my fault. Let me call them right away. Instead of becoming defensive, say, you know what? I'm sorry. I should have checked with you first. Next one. Okay, this partner does not respond defensively, but they reverse blame and attempt to make it the other partner's fault. So you accept responsibility. Next slide. More pointing fingers. I do it, but so do you. I'm not the only one who leaves the dishes. You always forget to pick up your stuff. Next one. Stonewalling. This is very important. Next slide. I'm out of here. Person shuts down and simply stops responding to their partner. That's what stonewalling is. Okay, honey, are you mad with me? Just shut down. Ain't even gonna give him the time of day. I ain't gonna even answer that. He know I'm upset with him. Why would he even ask him that question? Stonewalling, that you tend to tap out of the relationship. You're not permanently, but for that time, you're not even listening. You're not talking to him. You're just saying, listen, I'm fine. You see that? They're not even, anybody ever do that before? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. So true. Could everyone hear what she said? Okay, she's saying that, who has the microphone? She said that silent treatment is toxic. It does not help the relationship, which is true. Now, one of the things I talk about in my book, and I'm glad you said that, is attachment styles. Is anyone familiar with attachment styles? Attachment style is something that happens when you're a child. If you have a secure attachment style, you have secure attachment relationship with other people. If when you were a child and you felt abandoned, when you get in a relationship, you could be married, you can be dating, and you get to the point because you have an unsecure attachment style, you're like, where you going? Where you going to? Where you going to be? Because you have not had a healthy model for a strong attachment style. And I give you an example. Say, for instance, if there are some people who have brought up in homes where they're always hugging each other. They're hugging each other. How many of y'all come to family where people hugging each other, they hug each other? Some people, everybody in the family just hugging. I said, man, all this love, all this love. And some folks at home where mama ain't never touched them. I've had clients that daddy never hugged me, mama never hugged me. So here's what happens. If I have a relationship and I'm used to being hugged and caressed, and we kiss each other, family, brothers, sisters, every time we see each other. So when my wife doesn't do that, I feel rejected. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Because I'm used to that. I see her not hugging me and not kissing me, not touching me as a sign of rejection because I have an insecure attachment style. But guess what happened? That person that person who is not used to that, they feel like, man, they crowd on me. They choke on me. Every time I look around, they want me to hug them. Every time I look around, they want. So they have a problem because they're not used to it. They weren't brought up there with their home. They didn't have that loving environment. So they feel like you're smothering them, and they can't appreciate that. And so you have to recognize that. Those are things that actually happen in a relationship. So, and so you feel rejected. He's just not used to it. He's not used to that hugging. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Oh, that's a good statement. That's a good statement. But stonewalling is not even making the effort to tell a person. When you tell a person, listen, I need some space, I need some time, that's how you communicate. Stonewalling, so I ain't even saying. Did you hear what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden you feel like dusting, feel like cleaning. That's what stonewalling is. Next slide. I have about 30 seconds. Can you hear me listening to the other person? Make sure you listen. Next slide. Flooding is when, have you ever heard somebody complain so much that all of a sudden, this is a true thing. Your wife can be talking to you, and y'all, Charlie Brown again. Who's that on Charlie Brown? They be talking this wah, 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 wah. Who does that? Y'all know who I'm talking about? He said, wah, 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 nobody, wah, wah. That's what happens sometimes, wives. When you on your husband's case, all he hears wah, 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 wah. He don't know what you say. He done toned out. He done tuned out. He just smiling. He done tuned you out. Okay, next one. Next one, let me see. There was one I wanted to cover. Next one. Okay, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. I'll stop. Thank you. Let's give Lord a hand praise. You know what? If I can I take about 2 minutes? I forgot to ask questions. I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions? I didn't give a chance to ask questions. Anybody got any questions? Usually, I ask ahead of time till you write out your question because folks don't really want to ask questions in front of everybody. And you'd be surprised when I do that. You'd be surprised how many questions people ask, but you ain't going to write their question in front. But anybody have a question they feel comfortable sharing with us? All right. She trying to get me in trouble, ain't she? Bishop last year, she trying to give me no, that's a very valid question. And I tell you, part of the reason why there's a lot of problems, when my wife and I first got married, when I first started pastoring, I was gun-ho. We lived in a 4-bedroom house. I mean, I was doing well financially. I was selling real estate. I had some real houses. I was working with AT&T. I was making good money. I lost $80,000 a year income to start pastoring. Most pastors, the young boys want to pastor, they can make some money. I lost $87,000 income. I went from a 4-bedroom house to we went to an apartment in Evansville because I wanted to put the church first. I was putting the church first. I was neglecting my wife. I was neglecting my daughter. And so, and many pastors don't realize that. You know, your home comes first. God's first, then your home. But pastors, they get so involved in wanting to minister, be the best preacher again, but they forget there's a human nature. And so whenever a pastor fails to, so me and my wife, we have date nights. Every Friday is our date night. If I'm in town, we going on a date. And you have to do that. You have to continue to court. Don't always put the church before your family. And folks will pit the church against you. Pastor, I like you. I don't like your wife. They'll do it. They'll do it. And the pastor now, if the pastor and wife say, you better say, well, you pray for my wife, just like I pray for you. You pray for her. And so you have to have the wisdom. And that's why a lot of pastors, because they don't recognize. I thank God that I recognize in time. I recognized time before she left me. She came, my brother-in-law came and said, I sure hate to see you. We had a 4-bedroom house, a nice house. My brother-in-law said, I sure hate to see your wife in this house. We still own the house, but we moved to Evansville, and he said, I hate to see this, but I made a change. And then we were in a parsonage, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to get your house. We just going to be here a year, and I'm going to get your house. A year turned to 2. 2 turned to 3. 3, and you know what she said? Honey, if I don't get me a house by the end of this year right here, she said, I'm going back to Indianapolis. That's what you said. Ain't that what you said, baby? Oh, she don't remember all. Selective, that's what they call selective memory. But she wanted a house. And because I put so much money into the church, and pastor put money in church. I put money in church, paying bills for the church, doing this, taking money from my house, putting money, and I got ready to get a loan to get a house. And the man at the bank said, sir, he said, Reverend, he said, you know, your credit's too bad. We can't get you no house. I said, but sir, I'm promising my wife we're going to get a house. Thanksgiving's coming around, we're going to be in a house. He said, Reverend, I know what you're saying, Reverend. He looked like me, he said, bless your little heart. He said, Reverend, but the number's just not there, Reverend. The number's just not there. And I started praying. I said, Lord, help me. And he said, he felt so sorry for me. He said, I tell you what, I got a list of things for you to do. If you do the list about that long. He said, if you take care of all this right here, we do it. I asked God to help me. I started knocking things out one at a time because I knew that's what she wanted. And guess what? By Thanksgiving, we was in a brand new house, man. She stopped fixing me pot pies and chicken dinners then. She was ready to cook and start baking again. Listen, we love you. God bless you. 2 more things. You let you pick it. Actually, I had 2 more things. So I bought some fragrance from someone. Who likes fragrance? There was someone outside selling some fragrance. And I bought some from them. I said, I'm going to give away at the seminar. Brother Jay? Right. Okay. Was he the one selling there? Yes. Okay, so Brother Jay Wright, and I bought some. I said, I'm going to give, there he is. So I said, I'm going to give it away to somebody. Who likes fragrance, different fragrance? Okay, those 2 raised their hand, sister with the mask on, and brother right there. So remind me because I have it in my bag. Brother, raise your hand right there, brother. You and the sister with the mask on. Thank you, appreciate you.